Alrighty, hello everyone. Today we are going to make a basic charcoal soap with a little bit of essential oil. It is vegan, it is not palm free, but with some modifications you can make it palm free. So we're going to use 16 ounces of coconut, 16 ounces of palm, 6.5 ounces of almond oil, 5.5 ounces of rice bran oil, 4 ounces of canola oil, 3 ounces of shea butter, 3 ounces of mango butter, 3 ounces of castor oil. Then the water is going to be 17.1 ounces and the lye will be 7.95 ounces. I am doing a 7% super fat, and like I said, you can always modify, take out the palm oil and add more hard oils and butters if you want. Now when you are making soap and coloring your soap, one of the first things I learned after I'd made a few batches was that for the oils to mix your color, I didn't read anywhere where to get the oil from. I was just like, oh, you add a teaspoon to a tablespoon, and I would just go get my light oil and pour it in a cup and mix my colors. But what I didn't realize is that that was adding oils to my soap and therefore increasing my super fat and changing what my recipe would normally be. When you first start soaping, you are actually supposed to, you melt all your oils, you take the oil for your color from your actual batch. So for today, I normally wouldn't show people this, but I figured it was something I didn't learn until after like my first 10 batches of soap. So we're gonna show me mixing color today. Yeah. Yay. So I am gonna take 3 tablespoons of oil because I'm gonna be using 3 tablespoons of color. Or I'm sorry, 3 teaspoons. So rule of thumb is generally a teaspoon of color to a tablespoon of oil. Now I'm going to actually reuse my tablespoon here. 3 teaspoons is a tablespoon, just so you know. So if you're going to use 3 teaspoons of oil, you can use 3 teaspoons or just use 1 full tablespoon of your color. And the reason I'm going to reuse my measuring spoon is because today I'm coloring with activated charcoal. And activated charcoal likes to puff out and be kind of, not dirty, but you definitely know when you're playing with it. So I don't know if you can see the haze coming off of this, but so it will puff out literally everywhere. I buy mine, it comes in a plastic bag, and I generally put as much as I can into a sealed container, and then I only have to mess with the poofy bag every once in a while because the activated charcoal will get everywhere. It's just very airborne. It's almost like when you work with SLSA. So you want to tap it down. You want to kind of tap the color down into the oil. I don't know if you can see that, and cover it with the oil just to kind of get it wet before you start mixing. If you just toss your little blender in there before you do that, you're going to end up with a big mushroom cloud. It's going to look like Hiroshima over here. So I definitely try and wet it as much as I can so you eliminate that. I mean, that'll happen with some colors as well, but it's not as bad as when it happens with activated charcoal, because that stuff gets everywhere. You'll be having black snot come out, I swear. And the thing is you don't think about stuff being so airborne because sometimes you don't really see it. You see this more so than anything because it's black. But it happens with glitters, colorants, SLSA, all those things. You don't realize how airborne they are until you suck in a big breath of it. So. Alright, so that's mixing your color. You can use whatever you want to mix it in. I have a whole bunch of these disposable cups, so I use those and then throw them out. Once they're all done, I'll go back to using a little beaker or something that I just washed, so it's not as much waste going into the environment. So, right, so my oils are at less than 100. We're at 96. My water's at 99. We're good to go. I already have my essential oils pre-measured. And tap your stick blender on the bottom. You're burping it to get out all the excess bubbles that are underneath there. Pour your live water over the shaft of your stick blender. It helps create less bubbles. You don't want a bunch of air bubbles in your soap. And then you blend. Sometimes, if you've seen in other recipes, I like to just come to emulsification. It depends on what I'm working with. The essential oil I'm working with today will behave, so I don't have to have my batter super thin. And I'm only making it one color, so I don't need to have it real thin. So I'll probably go to a light to medium trace. I can feel that it's thickened up. It's not super heavy thick, or it's just a light trace. I don't know if you can see what a light trace does. It kind of leaves little lines on there. That's what a light trace looks like. It means when you pick up your stick blender and you can leave the little lines or the markings of your batter on top of it. That lets you know you're at a trace. If it didn't and it was still kind of feeling loose, that means you're at emulsification. So we're at a light trace. I'm going to add my activated charcoal now. And see, we're putting the oil right back into the recipe, just with the colorant. So don't do what I did way back in the day when I didn't have that information and just kind of be like adding a whole bunch of oil and colors. Okay. And again, generally it's a 1 teaspoon color to 1 tablespoon oil ratio. Okay. You can add more activated charcoal if you want. I find this ratio, you'll still end up with some gray bubbles, which is, I don't mind and my customers don't mind. I don't go super dark, but that's just me. You can. If you want super black, you go for it. Actually, I'll put this here. Alright. And I always add my color first before I add my fragrance or essential oil, just because sometimes you never know what might happen. And just because you buy an essential oil from one company and then you buy one from another company does not mean it's going to behave, because they're all different suppliers. And then we pour. This ended up, I did this batch to make a 5-pound loaf, or I use a 5-pound mold, I should say. You'll end up with, obviously, that's a little more than that. I think between this and my fragrance and or my essential oils, it's like 87 ounces. So also depends on how loose your batch is. If your liquid is really loose and it pours like water, you'll fit less in the mold because it's going to reach capacity. Whereas this, you can see there's just a slight elevation because it's just slightly thicker. Okay. Smooth it out a little bit. And I don't like soda ash on my activated charcoal, so I do spray it quite liberally with 99% RA, although you can use 91%. So I made a batch of this the other day. I just wanted to show you the color. So that is 3 tablespoons of oil to 1 tablespoon of activated charcoal. See, it's almost like a gray color. It's not quite black. I mean, trust me, you can get really black and it's going to leave really dark black bubbles. It's totally up to you. But whatever you do, take your oils from your batch. Don't add them in from just any place, like grab a bottle and just start pouring and mixing. Alright, so have a great day, and hopefully those tips and tricks will help you out on your next batch. Enjoy.